One.
Good afternoon. This is America's Mayor live from Palm Beach with a frustrated Rudy Giuliani. I thought voting here started on the 20th or something like that, but they actually only have a few days of early voting. They're actually civilized here. And so I can't vote until next week. So I was going to take you to vote with me today, but looked up no place to vote. I'd have to go to one of those places where they try to have as long and as many paper ballots as possible. So that let's put it in a nice way. So they have a little scope should things go wrong. um, there's this big argument about did Biden let lots of criminals in with the migrants? Is there really an argument about that? First thing I want to point out to you is that there were two different circumstances under which the Biden Harris invitees to commit rape, murder, and sell fentanyl came in, and the prior illegals. The prior illegals, in large measure, came from Mexico, and they came here to do work that was at times legal, at times illegal, or they ended up working in the back of restaurants or as nannies or things like that. Were there some criminals that used that puncturing of our border as a way to get in? Yes, of course. And but believe it or not, in my experience, both from the Washington perspective as overseeing immigration and naturalization in those days when I was in the Justice Department, and then as United States Attorney right on the ground with 4,000 illegals, 400,000 illegals right in my city, I can tell you, based on every criteria I can think of, both crime statistics, which, as we know, can be somewhat, and crime victimization studies, which are better, and just personal experience and intuition. If I were talking about the 1980s, I would very, very definitively tell you that the Americans committed more crimes than the people coming in illegally. Now, they may have committed the original crime of coming in illegally, but they weren't the primary problems for our rapes, our murders, our burglaries, or whatever. Uh, did they commit some? Yes. Maybe more than they should? Yes. Um, could you make the argument? Well, that's not a really fair comparison because our citizens we're stuck with and them we're bringing in. So therefore, we shouldn't bring any criminals in. Yes, of course you should. But what I'm saying is you could have solved. Yeah, well, we solved the crime problem in New York, and at the end of that process, there were as many illegals in New York as there were before, maybe 10,000 less. The crime problem had to be solved among Americans, and it was. We brought it down. Gosh almighty. I mean, if you look at Bloomberg and I, it was 70, 80%. I mean, ridiculous amounts. Nobody's ever done that before or since. And it did not rely on having to throw illegals out of the country sometimes, but that wasn't the critical part. Different ballgame. The minute you open that border completely, and you tell people the way Biden and all of the irresponsible Democrats had to surge to the border, and we're going to make you all citizens. Now, a criminal group would have to be an extremely small, narrow minded criminal group, not take advantage of it. And they're smart. They know what they're doing, and they have taken advantage of it. Now, I don't know what percentage of the people coming in are criminals or turn to criminality. All I can tell you without any doubt, it's a much higher percentage than it's ever been before. Because, number one, the vetting, and they learned this very quickly, has gone down to, in many cases, none, because they're so busy, they just, come on, come on, come on, come on. Or even when they ask questions, 4 questions for the Chinese, that's vetting. So you have the group that's not vetted, that we theoretically vet, right? They are vetted, let's say, not vetted or light vetted, when they used to be vetted for real. So that's going to increase the number of criminals to start with. Number 2, you have the gotaways who are the people that we see, chase, but don't catch. So we don't know who they are. But you got to assume if they're running like that, more than the percentage that come in and get stopped at the border are criminals, right? That's why they're coming in that way. But here's the really dangerous group that we don't know a damn thing about. Those are the gotaways we never saw. And they are all over the place. And they could be as many as the people we did see. And there are people who believe it. That's a correct computation. So when Trump tells you 20 million people, a lot of people would agree with that. And there's nobody that I would look at and consider to have a brain if they didn't say it's at least 15 million, another 5 million who we have no idea who they are. And we're seeing crimes committed by them. You see, there's no time of entry. There's no notice of entry. Or they entered, they were thrown out, now they came back. We don't know how they came back. That's happening a lot more now because the cartels are using those spaces between our border patrol stations, which are huge, to use a Trump phrase, to bring in the high value illegal alien, the one where they're bringing in $10 million worth of fentanyl. They don't want it. They don't want to compromise it. They don't want to take a chance on losing it. So they talk to the Sinaloa cartel, who's probably involved in it in the first place. But even if they're not, they talk to them, they give them a piece of it, and they say, get this over with nobody ever seeing it. And I'm telling you, they can succeed at that. I don't know, 100% of the time, pretty damn close. And the more we have a crowding at our border stations, the more that's going to happen. So they have, in fact, brought a massive number of criminals in. The president was giving a speech today, and he talked about how many more criminals there are. And I was yelling to the TV, 60% of the crime last month in the Bronx were committed by Biden invitees, and 60% in Queens. Violent crime. You want to know how they contribute? There you go. In other words, there'd be 60% less crime in both places. That's a lot of less. And 60% is a lot of more. And what I'm telling you about New York, which used to once be kind of a New York, Chicago story, is now a New York, Chicago, Aurora, Colorado, thanks to Governor Feliz Navidad, or a Minneapolis story, thanks to Tampon Tim, where in fact it's worse. You see, it's worse in places where you have sanctuary cities, which are basically broken down, corrupt democratic cities, where they invite in the criminals. And then, I don't know if they invite in the criminals. They invite in this romantic notion they have of an alien. But here's the problem with them that makes it unforgivable. They can't make the logical, intelligent switch when they realize they were wrong. Now, Adams was dead wrong. Adams was talking about, I don't know, the guy may have had in his head some kind of version of the immigration of 1910, 1920, 1930. He even started quoting Edna Lazarus, bring me your tired, you're poor. This is like, bring me your rapists, your murderers, you're criminally insane. And when Trump comes up with that, the press acts like, oh, he's just making this up. Now, the press knows better. The press knows better. What Trump is talking about is a historically verifiable example that Maduro is facing. Maduro is repeating what Castro did in 1978, 1979. It's exactly the same as the Mario boat lift. Now, they're all doing it. But Maduro, I would say, is almost a for sure situation because Castro was his hero. Nice hero. Killed homosexuals, killed people who had AIDS until he decided he wanted to be happy with Hollywood, and then he stopped and covered it up. Imagine all those Hollywood guys, Sean Penn and this one and that one, all of them going crazy over AIDS, and this guy used to kill them.
Well, Mayor,
This is all the insidious effect. And I don't want to oversimplify it because it isn't simple. And it has lots of different roots from different things. But you want to organize it somewhere, just go pick up any of the books by Marx or Engels, and whether you find the whole picture or part of it, you're going to find it's on one of the things that's right. You'll see it might have something to do with sex change and how they wanted to change the definition of sex. It might have to do with the broken down morality, which they felt was necessary in order to create a communist country. It might have to do with the breaking down of our statues and our heroes, because that's one of the things you had to do in a country. That's what the Cultural Revolution was all about, by the way. In China, it wasn't they introduced culture in China; it was they wiped out culture in China. One of the things even Putin complains about, who may in fact want to be, I think sometimes, not the next Khrushchev, but the next czar. I think we interpret Khrushchev wrong when we say he wants to recreate the Soviet Union. I think he wants to recreate the Tsarist Empire, which he thinks has more intellectual consistency to it or historical consistency to it. So that would make Ukraine and Belarus and a couple of those really his targets, not Poland, because he believes wrongly, at least in my view of history, which can't say that I'm an expert on Eastern European history, but I'm not a neophyte on it either. I've been involved with Ukraine since '59, and I've actually, unlike many others, done work there. So I think I have a feel for Ukraine. Ukraine is like any other very well-educated country with a great history, tradition, and culture. It's a very complex country. It used to be almost evenly split between pro-Russian and pro-Western. It's now much more pro-Western, largely because of Putin's behavior. But right now, somebody has to analyze the fact that we are in an absolutely untenable position for those people. Just again today, we refused to allow Zelensky to use the weapons we gave him. So you've got a big portion of Ukraine now controlled by Russia. He's not getting them out of there by going up against them in Ukraine. He's just going to get everybody killed in Ukraine. He's got to go hit Russia so hard they want to get out. He does that. Does he risk nuclear war? And does the West support him? So far, Biden says no. So Biden keeps giving him money to fight the war, but he doesn't give him the capacity to win the war. Could it be, that they both are kind of happy with this because lots of people can make money this way? Lots of people they've all made a lot of money with. And don't tell me it's the American military industrial complex, because I would say that not only strengthens my argument, that makes my argument unassailable. Why do we have a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act? Because of the American military industrial complex. Here's an article today in the Journal by Tony Gonzalez, who is the congressman in the 23rd Congressional District in Texas and knows more about the border than anything than anyone else. And Tony basically says that, and making my point, but with much more authority because he's right on the line, he says that his district has been turned into a criminal district. This is Texas. This is Texas. Criminal district in Texas. Look, I met people a few months ago that own a big plot of land on Texas that goes right down to the border, and they don't like to go near the border because they find dead bodies there now. And all he's done is lie. Now they say less. They have that little tiny thing that lies for that little lying machine. You don't see it much anymore in the press room. The lying machine that looks like she put a finger in a socket for a hair. You know who I'm talking about, Ted? What's her name? I can't remember her name. Jean Pierre Paul.
Jean Pierre.
Jean.
I got the name messed up.
Jean Pierre Karine.
Yeah, let me get that.
Jean.
Oh, JP. Kareem Jean-Pierre.
Does that stand for lies every day? LED?
Yeah,
Lies
we're
every day?
trying to get this right. This isn't us being funny. Karine Jean-Pierre.
Okay, Karine Jean-Pierre
We haven't heard from her in a while.
says that illegals are way down. Here's how illegals are way down. A year and a half ago, very, very sneaky, called it out when he did it. Biden set up a new program without any legislation, which is why this whole thing about a law is ridiculous. He can do it all by executive order. Everything he undid of Trump's by executive order, he could put back. He started a program called CBP One. This is an app. Even if you're illegal, you can apply on the app and we'll let you in. So these are all illegal entries that are escorted in by the Border Patrol, most of whom were escorts at Radio City Music Hall. They make it nice for you to come in. 2024 is the third straight fiscal year in which we've had over 2 million illegals. We never had 1 million before under any other American president. So stop comparing yourself to Trump. You can't compare yourself to anybody because what you've done to our country is unprecedented. It's disgusting. It's treasonous. When we don't have a border, when we don't insist that people come into this country that love America and are going to uphold our traditions, that's how we lose America, because this country is made up of our traditions. That's what holds us together. And they are timeless traditions that come from God. These are rights that come from God. These rights are not negotiable. We don't negotiate free speech and freedom of religion. We get it taken away from us by tyrants like the governors you have who did it during the pandemic. I saw it coming with the pandemic. Kamala, it looks like they're having a little buyer's remorse. There's a poll that was taken, Issues and Insights poll, that shows that 40% of Democrats agreed that Harris is not the strongest candidate they could have had, and 37% said they've lost significant faith in the Democrat Party because it did not disclose Biden's health issues. Who covered that up? Tackling Kamala and the first stepmother. They'd be the two that covered that up the most. The first stepmother had to know. I mean, you can see them when they're, at the very end. Remember that thing we saw where they were coming off the plane and she paid no. I think she's getting tired of him. Something may happen there real quick. We'll see. We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll keep our eyes on it. So in New York, there is a proposition called Proposition 1. Proposition 1 is supposed to enshrine baby killing to the 9th month in our Constitution. However, it also has protection of rights in it. And what it would do is it would offer support for illegals being allowed to vote. That you got to read it. It's excessively long. It is hard to understand. It probably is going to create a case where you can have your sex changed. Who knows at what age, and not tell your parents, in honor of Tampon Tim, who has that in out of control Minneapolis, which he helped burn down. There's a new caravan on the way to the U.S. They're hoping that they can get in before Trump gets in. And that had jumped the numbers into the 2 millions for this year, which would be, well, even at 1.6 million or 1.7 million, it's a record year other than records set by this worst of all presidents. But they believe these people can get in before January 20th. And they're heading toward the border right now. Right now, it's 2,000 Mexicans, but they expect that lots of others coming from distant places are going to join them, which, there was a lot of talk about Aurora and then a lot of talk about Jamesport, right? Was it Jamesport? Wasn't that the other one, Ted? There's also a town called Logansport.
Logansport. I know.
Logansport is a town of just over 18,000 people. And they've had 3,000 non-English speaking Haitians just moved into their town just in 1 year. And people are dropping out of their school left and right. Cheyenne Baker, who was the #1 honor student, 16, dropped out to pursue education online. It's like the teacher is so busy with them that no one else gets a chance to learn. So you're shutting out. I mean, we're having a crisis in American education due to the Communist Teachers Union in this country. Our educational levels keep dropping down and down, and we've become less competitive with other countries as the Teachers Union, which was founded by communists, is trying to accomplish its goal for Karl Marx, which is destroy our educational system so they can take over the kid at about 2 years old. That's part of what Timmy Walls wants to do. It's part of what the first stepmother was trying to do, and it's part of what Kamala was trying to do. Her not being the best example of our educational system since she failed the bar exam. But the people in Logansport are very, very upset that their good schools are now being ruined, and they say, "Well, we're not racist, but this should be done in a gradual kind of way." Not you just flood in 2,000 in a city of 18,000 and expected the school isn't going to fall apart if you do that. Huh? So, Ted, the Democrats got all upset that our boss, the big guy,
The boss, as we
was
said.
serving food at McDonald's. Now, I don't know what they're angry about other than the fact that it makes her look bad, because we all know she didn't work for McDonald's. I mean, first of all, there's no record of her working for McDonald's. Number two, if she worked for McDonald's, there's no picture of her working for McDonald's. There's no friend of hers that says she worked for McDonald's. There isn't even a family member who says she worked for McDonald's. And why doesn't she go to McDonald's and see if she can do a hamburger?
How is
Maybe if she does that, she'll prove pretty much what Tampon Tim proved, that he doesn't have to load a firearm. Tampon Tim, who's a big supporter of the NRA, I guess he's hoping the NRA will teach him how to fire a gun. Now, I ended up in the National Guard, and he can't load a gun. No wonder he didn't go into action. They didn't want him.
Let's get that up.
Can you imagine if you're next to him and watch, you're next to him and the enemy is shooting at you, and this is your partner. There he is. Look there. Come on, partner. He got real style in the way. I mean, that went on for about 15 minutes, by the way. When he shot the gun, did it knock him over? No wonder the Cheneys support them.
So there he is.
So now tell me, he doesn't even seem to know how to hold a gun. I swear to God, he doesn't seem to. Anybody ever taught him how to hold a gun? I hope they didn't have ammunition. He could hurt himself.
So let's contrast that. That's Tim Walz last week. And here's President Trump working the fry station.
There's President Trump working.
At McDonald's.
Trump has a lot more expertise with those fries than that guy has with a gun.
Yeah.
He's asking questions about how they do it. I remember this now from watching it. He's asking questions about how they separate it out. Notice how easily he relates with those people. Just notice it.
Volume on so you can hear it.
Something's happening, Margot.
He's having joy.
That's not normal.
Are you going to give it a try?
I do.
Did we have a picture on the other show of a real picture of joy in the Kamala campaign?
No, that was, we'll play that one.
We had two sour pusses on.
Oh, yeah. No, influential noted Republican Liz Cheney.
Did they still use the word sour puss?
And then we're going to hit our fry time.
My mother
I
used to
haven't
use
heard
that
that in a
word.
while.
Why are you a sourpuss?
Definitely.
But these look like two sour. I'll tell you, these look like two sourpusses. Boy, do you feel for that? Well, I don't know if I should feel for her husband, for Camillus. He beat the hell out of women and impregnated his nanny, and then did a non-disclosure agreement after these hypocrites attacked Trump over a non-disclosure agreement. Well, I think Trump's McDonald's thing was a big, big hit, and that's why they're going nuts. They're going, this was terrible that what's terrible about using McDonald's? It's terrible that he used McDonald's as as sort of a dramatization or whatever. Our whole campaign is orchestrated. The whole campaign is orchestrated. Well, we'll be right back.
Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom as we know it has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Qwik's digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Qwik's. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting Qwix.tv. Get yours now.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Proud of yourself. And with the fact that these Biden partners and all these people are going after my Joe DiMaggio jersey, and they were trying to go after my son's rings. And it's not, not as if they're really interested. They're interested in trying to find personal things that will hurt you, to take away from you. Joe DiMaggio left that jersey personally for me. They want to take it. That's why we live in a fascist country, and they're fascist. But I want you to show, let's see, they ever do anything like this. For example, I became mayor in January of 1994. When I became mayor, there were 1.1 million people on welfare. And I said to myself, this can't be sustained, since my predecessor, David Dinkins, who is constantly described as a very nice man, who was not a very nice man. The New York Post just wrote an editorial about what a nice man he is. and what an honest man he was. Wasn't an honest man. He actually got $1 million for the cable contracting in New York, and only got away with not being prosecuted because he was black. I mean, he was as crooked as Charlie Rangel and all the rest of them. He was part of the Board of Estimate that voted himself a cable contract. And then when he got the $1 million, he laundered it through his son. And the U.S. attorney would have prosecuted the case, but he said he's the first black mayor and we could have a riot. But it wasn't me. I'd have prosecuted the case and we wouldn't have had a riot. But in any event, don't redo history that Dinkins was an honest man. He's part of the crooked Democratic machine. And at one point walked out and told the secretary, I've now become a millionaire. And that was the $1 million kickback that he got from Inner City Broadcasting. So, you can tell that crap to somebody else, not to me. So I get stuck with a city with 1.1 million people on welfare, or maybe 1.2, I don't remember. And Dinkins' answer was to raise money for the next 3 million, raise taxes. Because we're going to go to 1.5. And I said, boy, these guys, and in Dinkins' case, he wasn't a communist. He was just not very smart. And I said, what kind of a ridiculous thing is that? We'll raise taxes. We'll lose more people. We had lost like a tremendous population already. We were on the cover of several magazines as the rotting of the Big Apple when I became mayor. Rotting of the Big Apple. 75% of the people wanted to leave the city. This is what I took over. Now, here's a chart to show you, number one, the reform that I made that I don't get much credit for. And number two, how long the reform lasted. And once the communists get back, it's on its way to changing. So I came in, I said, I have to change this. I devised a program. We had to clear the legal traps because here was the program. First thing I did is I checked everybody. I bought new equipment called finger imaging. Everybody on welfare had to be finger imaged because we had people on welfare 2, 3, 4, 5 times, including 78 people who work for the police department. How many? 78. So therefore, I said, and they would go to different boroughs of the city and register, or they'd go even outside the city to Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, or Bergen County in New Jersey. So I prepared this program well, so when it came out, it hit hard, not like the incompetent Democrats who never know how to prepare a program. I mean, think of Obamacare. The computer went down with Obamacare because they don't know how to manage. They're impractical jackasses. Or how about building the dock in Gaza? Costs 25 million, and we have no dock, and we got people killed doing it because Biden wouldn't have the foggiest idea, or the woke military he's put together, how to do it, or to hold somebody accountable like Trump would for doing it wrong. But I made sure it would work. So I began the program in March of 1995. I had exactly 1.1 million, or if you want to round it off, 1.2 million people on welfare. By the time we got to the middle of my final year, and I was going to turn it over to Mike Bloomberg, I took it down to 497,000. I think by the time I got it to Bloomberg, it was even lower. But in any event, we'll take that. In other words, I removed 600,000 people from the welfare roll. You should also know that 500,000 were working because I started a workfare program. The reason I didn't start it right away was I wasn't just going to throw them off welfare. What good would that do? They'd come back. Or okay, I'd get rid of the double, the triple. I got them jobs. I took my welfare office, I turned it into an employment office. I told my welfare workers, if you can find a job, we'll give you bonuses. That union agreed to that, unlike the Communist Teachers Union that would agree to no differential pay for teachers. And then that change, that reform, Bloomberg, as he did on others, improved. See? Now, he didn't do that. He didn't take it down 500,000, took it down 100,000, and then some more. Then it went up a little under de Blasio. Then it went up a little more under de Blasio. And then Adams came in and poof, it's soaring up again. It is now beyond where I got it when I handed it over to Bloomberg for the first time in 23 years. That's what happens when you elect progressive Democrats. And it'll be back up here again once you start figuring it. If you figure in those migrants, it's way above that now. But this is a different kind of a Democratic mayor and having a group of mayors who the best thing you can say about them is they live in some kind of a fairy tale land. The worst thing you can say about them is they're corrupt. The ones in a fairy tale land allow corruption to go on around them. The ones who are really corrupt participate in it. And that's true of the cities where they stole votes too. Those are the cities they picked to steal votes. Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, Fulton County. They're still not prosecuting. They're still not even focused on the fact that Fannie admitted under oath that she took her campaign funds and used them for private purposes to pay for her love tryst with her boyfriend, who she hired and paid $1 million to, who didn't know the first thing about RICO. Imagine hiring and paying a guy as a special counsel, and he's got to go to school to learn about. He had to go to school to earn his $1 million, although I don't think that's what he really had to do to earn his $1 million. I think it was more like Willie Brown. Oh, never mind. Here's a picture of the next president of the United States. They make fun of it. It was a stunt. I don't see how this was a stunt. I mean, this is what I served pizza when I was the mayor, when I ran for mayor. Other people did. De Blasio got into big trouble with pizza when in New York, he took a knife and fork and started cutting it. And they never forgot that. In addition to killing not Punxsutawney, the guy we have in Staten Island. No, he killed the poor little guy he killed the poor little guy in Staten Island. But that could be because he's so tall. When he dropped him, the poor guy died. But he also probably dropped him because who knows what was going on at Gracie Mansion before he left.
I see what
you know. The stories about the cops that wanted to be off his detail because it gets in your hair and you fail
drug test.
You fail the drug test. Yeah. Well, you could see him come out sometimes. I always suspected it was worse than that because he was always late. And having had a lot of experience with drug prosecutions and rehab, it's one of the great
indicators.
Yeah, you got an employee and they just can't make it on time. Take a look at their eyes really carefully. I told you about the new caravan headed to the U.S. They're trying to get in. This reminds me of 4 years ago. They were headed to the border to get in as soon as Trump left. And that's why Trump has a couple of increased numbers in the last 2 to 3 months. There were more hanging around the border sneaking in. Now they're coming to try to get in before Trump leaves. The Border Patrol supports Trump. All border employees support Trump. All border unions support Trump. Poor men and women want morale. And when I say they act as escorts, I do not mean in any way to demean them. I mean to demean the people who misuse them and mistreat them, like the ones who discipline the guys who supposedly whip people who never did and never apologize for it because they're communists, and communists never apologize. I told you about CBP-1, which is a big fraud that has brought in 1.5 million more. And this one specializes in bringing spies in from China, which reminds me of the story we did yesterday that I do need to remind you of. I do believe I do need to remind you of it. That we did with Ali Razor about the Iran spy ring in the White House and in the Biden administration.
The enemy within.
Nothing done about it yet. That spy ring was laid out in May of 2023 by Lee Smith, and then reiterated a year later by 2 other very enterprising reporters. Chapter and verse, very clear who the spies are, their spying activity in the past, the fact that they, unless we have a corrupt FBI, they could not have gotten a security clearance, and they're still there. And we just compromised an enormously important document from our best ally. Maybe we'll see if we can get Lee Smith on, Ted.
Yeah.
Okay. Lee is a good friend, and
Yeah, we should have.
let's have him on to explain it. I mean, seems to me he was on top of that. I'd have hired him. After I read that, I would have hired him as an assistant U.S. attorney or investigator for the U.S. Attorney's Office. So let's see what else we have here. Biden's
Lots. And where's Biden? Where's Joe? Where's he been? Sleeping. Napping. The guy's supposed to be president of the United States and he's napping. We don't hear from him. We don't see him. Honestly,
However,
I think Kamala might have gone on.
However, he believes he'd have been a stronger candidate than Kamala.
We got to bring that video up.
Now my theory, right? My theory, which I promoted this show and the earlier show with, is very, very simple. The Kamala people are scared out of their minds. They've got an unfathomable problem. There is an answer to their problem, but I ain't giving it to them. The problem is this. It's very simple. There are certain candidates, and Kamala is by no means the first one. There are certain candidates, the more they appear, the more votes they lose. They don't necessarily get more negative. It isn't like people, it's like corruption or something. It's just that people just fall off. They're going to vote for them. And they don't necessarily move those people to their opponent. They just don't show up. So, enthusiasm has a lot to show up. When Kamala says one of these things that proves that she's dumber than you are, right? You're sitting at home, you listen to me and say, gee, I'm smarter than that. Then you don't want to vote for her. You may never have voted for a Republican, so you're not going to vote for a Republican or a third party candidate. You may hate Trump, but she talks you out of voting for her. And this has been her history. She talked herself out of the nomination for president by appearing too much. So now they're holding her back. So what do they do? If they hold her back, it looks like she can't handle herself. And here you have Dodo Bird saying, I'd have been a stronger candidate. And it doesn't look like Prince Barry is disagreeing.
Let's push him back, right?
Well, he did turn his head.
Cameras are here, Joe.
But he knows. He hardly endorsed her. He wanted a primary. He wanted like what would you call it? Like an emergency primary.
Yeah. That's right.
It's also completely. It's also completely ridiculous to charge Trump with evading democracy or going to ruin democracy. And you've got a candidate that had all of no votes. He had all of no votes. And we're the ones who are going to impose a dictatorship on America. I mean, how do you pull that one off? But I'm telling you, the big problem they're having in the Kamala campaign, and I got this from a very good source, unwilling to go public because they'll be ruined they'll be ruined in the Democratic Party. But they have an impossible problem. If she doesn't appear more, Trump looks like the much more energetic candidate. But every time she appears, she loses votes. She's one of those people where when you look at her or you listen to her, when you listen to her, she's quite likely to raise a question in your mind, is she sane? Because she says things that are weird. She says weird stuff. And I think it was very unfortunate that Tampon Tim came up with weird as the description for Vance and Trump, when in fact, well, he's pretty weird. And she's a definition of weird. What's the first thing you're going to do in the White House? My mother comes from the middle class, and I'm going to work for the middle class and the aspirations of the middle class. That's what I'll do. First thing in the White House, I'll be working on the aspirations of the middle class. So, as a writer, let's say for the New York Post or the Daily News, these quick little newspapers, you say, first day in the White House, Kamala's going to aspirate. Ooh, what's aspirate? Then you ask Trump, what are you going to do the first day you're on there? I'm going to close the border. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then you say, well, how are you going to close the border? Well, the way I did last time. I just signed a couple of orders, and I tell Mexico, you want a 200% tariff on everything? They'll come along. She'll come along. There's a new one now. Lopez Obrador, my former client, is now retired, going to communist heaven or communist retirement land, wherever communists go. Do communists retire, or do they just shoot them?
Once you're in, you're in.
Oh, okay.
You don't get to retire.
Did you see this story about this young woman, Sherelle Golan? She escaped the massacre at the Supernova Music Festival, and on her 22nd birthday on Sunday, she committed suicide from PTSD. Lovely lady, huh? Beautiful young lady. No reason to have committed suicide. You know that. I know that. I've dealt with suicide people a few times in my life under very dramatic circumstances. And the first time I did, I went to see a very famous psychiatrist who worked with PTSD, who I then used after September 11. And he always said to me, you got to get him out of the moment. That you get them out of the moment, they may never commit suicide. I always feel when I see a suicide, I'm sure I'm wrong, but I always feel like you could prevent it. You just got to get them out of the terrible spiral that they're in. I hope when they leak this probe of what happened to the Israeli information, I do hope they appoint something other than the FBI. I mean, the FBI is not going to solve this. If the FBI solved it, they have to accuse themselves. This was solved a year and a half ago by Lee Smith in Insight Magazine. The article lays out who the spies are, why they're there, how the hell did they get security clearance. The only one I can remember is Ariane Tabatabai, because the name is, oh, and Skandari too. Dina Eskandari. Robert Malley hired both of them. Now, Tabatabai in 2014 was working as a spy for the Iranian government, and we know that. And then in 2021, we hire her to work on the Iranian program in the United States. Who would do that? A dishonest, disloyal president. That's who would do that. Well, we hope that the leak probe is going to be conducted somewhat more professionally than the investigation of the Donald Trump assassination attempt, which is being conducted by the agency that just a few months ago wanted to frame him. That doesn't make you feel very good. He's handling it well. I wouldn't handle it well. I'd be losing my temper every day if I had those creeps investigating my attempted assassination. I don't mean the agents. You know that. You know the agents. You know we love each other. But you got a leadership that is beyond description. Well, we'll be back very shortly. Welcome.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
They just
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
can we get him one of these?
And we're back. We're back, and we have a very special guest joining us tonight. Alexander Spillane of Fisher Capital, CEO of Fisher Capital. And what brings you to sunny Palm Beach, Florida?
And I should explain, I was just interviewed by him on his podcast, which was an excellent interview. And he's here tonight for a special Trump movie.
That's right.
And tomorrow you're going to introduce the 47th president of the United States.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of surreal. I mean, that's going to be a huge event in Duluth. So tonight, you know, this event tonight was supposed to be on the 17th. The hurricane got it moved.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I got the call to do the events in Duluth and Vegas. So it all kind of lined up like boom, boom, boom.
So you're going to do two? You're going to do
Yeah. So we flew here, you know, for the movie premiere tonight, which I'm really excited for. That's why I'm dressed up tonight. And then tomorrow morning we fly to Duluth. And then the very next morning we fly to Vegas. So.
And you get, you know, I've introduced him. I used to introduce him so often in 16 when I was with him for 4 or 5 months. We had a arrangement. We had the short introduction. We had the medium introduction. We had the long introduction. And his guy, Johnny, he'd come in and he likes to take his pictures before the event. I take pictures usually after the event.
Yeah.
But so now if he's got a big crowd, it's going to be a big delay. If he's got a small crowd, it's going to be small. And then if he likes the people, it's going to be really long. And if he doesn't like the people, it's going to be really short.
Right.
So I had the 5-minute speech, 4 to 5 minute speech. I had the 10-minute speech. And then I had the repetition of the 10-minute speech as many times as I had to.
Right.
So Johnny would come out 3 minutes into it and he'd go, meaning we're on target, finish it up. Then he'd come out if we were going to, he'd go. And then it could be really long, he would go. So I gave anywhere from 3-minute speeches introducing him to about 20-minute speeches introducing him, depending on how much time he needed. And it was always great fun. And the rallies, I mean, the only thing that's happened with the rallies since then is they've gotten much better.
I gotta say, it's probably the funnest audience to open for.
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
because they're just very engaged in what you're saying, and you know, the crowd's wild. It's a lot of fun.
So we'll see if I'm right, but I thought in 16, I never said it to him near the end, although I tried very hard to see if they could try find substitutes. That his secret weapon was that rally. Nobody can do that rally. There's no American politician that can do that. And it does whip up enormous enthusiasm.
Oh yeah.
And now he's gone on so long, you would think that people would get tired. Like Kamala tried to say people leave. The only people that leave are the people that are afraid about their cars. Almost nobody leaves. And by the way, as soon as they leave, other people come in for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
I have not seen a rally of his without people outside ever.
That's right.
Ever.
You know, even now, after the assassination attempt, even for someone like me who's going to be on the stage speaking, you have to show up there at 1 p.m. because of how many.
Oh,
people
sure,
are
sure,
inside.
sure. A lot of
And
it's-
he's not going to go on until about 7 p.m. I don't think. So it was announced he's also doing a rally in Arizona. So in the same day, he's flying from Arizona to Vegas. He's in Duluth the day before. So I mean, the fact that he can have the stamina to do that many, I think he's done like 3 in a day.
See,
Yeah.
Kamala says that he's falling apart. He's really not able to make it. He's falling. Meanwhile, she's
I
taking.
don't see that.
Meanwhile, she's taking today off sleeping. Kamala's sleeping.
Yeah.
You think Kamala snores? I think she snores. I think she snores. Oh, you want to see a nice poll? Pennsylvania, the key state, new poll today. 46-43.
Hey, we'll take
Oh,
it.
yeah, that's good.
And what else? You know what else? The Senate candidate has pulled out ahead.
McCormick has pulled ahead of Bob Casey, and that's meaningful.
That's
that
even
last
bigger.
name,
That's even
Casey,
bigger. That's even bigger.
is a
I
popular.
mean, I never like to make like completely definitive predictions. However, I'm the Pennsylvania guy in the campaign. So back in 16, I convinced them to put assets into Pennsylvania, and everybody disagreed with me except Bannon. And when we won Pennsylvania, boy, did I feel like a genius. Then in 20, I'm in the White House counting votes, and I'm watching Pennsylvania go up 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 600. When we got to 800,000, I let out a "you," like whoop, in the White House. And Maria said, "Quiet down, quiet down." And then Newt Gingrich came over and he puts his arm on Dr. Maria and he says, "You're watching history," meaning we were going to win. He said, "You can't make up 800,000 with 65% of the vote. Can't do it. Impossible." He said, I have mathematicians saying it's mathematically impossible. Within 5 minutes, I hear they've closed down the voting in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia. And immediately I said, "Oh my God, they're going to try to really steal this."
Yeah.
Because they only closed it down in crooked cities. They only closed it down in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Atlanta.
It's in Georgia, yeah.
Now where else? In Milwaukee. In Milwaukee.
Detroit,
Yeah. Oh, Detroit was big time. Detroit was the big trucks that came in.
Right.
Yeah.
our county, Nevada, Maricopa County, Arizona.
Maricopa County.
Well, I mean Philadelphia.
Maricopa is a little different. I wouldn't put Maricopa in the category of the kind of legendary crooked city that Philadelphia or New York or Chicago. They're legendary cities. I mean, they don't have a Boss Tweed but those are legendary crooked cities. And Atlanta may be the worst.
I'd say so.
Yeah, Atlanta's terrible. I mean, you can't do anything without paying somebody off.
That's right. You know, me and my friend over here were talking about when they did the PPP loans, that city in particular just saw crime just go through the roof because all that did for their economy was encourage young people to they got a bunch of money, they defraud the government. I don't know if you know the whole scam.
Yeah, sure.
But a lot of that, I assume, went into politics.
Not just in that city. I mean,
no, it's nation.
You know, there's still PPP money to give out. There's still.
I never applied for that.
One would think at this point we would take it to resolve the deficit. Instead, the Democrats are trying to figure out what crooked scheme can we put it in.
Yeah.
And then the other beauty of it is when they give that out, they always get kickbacks for it.
Oh, it's 100%.
You know, they get
correct,
kickbacks for it. And because it's emergencies, there's no competitive bidding, there's no auditing.
That's right.
This is why they are opposing Trump so strongly, because he's the only person on the horizon that could really uncover this. There'd be other honest Republicans, but it would take him 4 years to actually believe it. It took me 4 years to believe it. It may have taken him 4 years to believe it. I mean, if he were to tell you what he thought when he first came in, and by the time he left, he would have said, honestly, I never realized it was this bad. I knew it was bad, but I had no idea it was this bad. And then that just progressed as you go on. I mean, so they have so much at stake. I keep up at night wondering what are they going to pull next? I mean, what's the next between now and
Yeah.
how many days, Ted?
13 and some change. So they're saying 14, but it's 13 in a few hours. So
Well, they may, in case
you know,
Trump
I think
wins,
it's
they
the-
may extend it an extra day.
yeah.
Okay, he's ahead by 3 million. You can come and vote tomorrow. We'll open it up for one more day, Wednesday.
Yeah, we gotta keep it open until they got the votes they need, right, man? But I had a question for Alexander, and Alexander, what is your message maybe to others in the venture capital space, maybe finance world, people in business? What is your message to others who may support President Trump, but they kind of maybe keep it quiet for different reasons? They're
Yeah.
afraid to speak out.
Guess
Maybe what's
what?
your message to others,
You
maybe?
can keep it quiet by you don't have to be in the public view and speak out against this stuff. It's very simple. And this is the message I've been sharing with conservatives for years. It's called voting with your wallet. And it's very simple. You just need to stop funding companies and organizations that are giving money to the left. And that's a simple choice that you can make privately. You don't have to, be in the public eye or talk about it at all. It's just, you have a choice and a right to take back control of the way you spend and save your money. And if you look at what Fisher Capital does, for example, we help our clients who are primarily conservative, obviously. Those are the only people who are concerned about the economy. These liberals don't seem concerned about the economy at all. So, hence why they buy gold. They buy gold because they're concerned that these Democrats are going to crash the economy. They're going to destroy the value of the dollar. And oftentimes you look at these people, they have the majority, if not the entirety of their life savings with companies like Vanguard in BlackRock funds. So there's a simple way that you can see that the money's being weaponized against them. We know what Vanguard and BlackRock support. So if you've got your nest egg, your 401k, your IRA, or everything you've worked hard for just to come to the point where you're trying to retire, you have a choice. You don't have to let them hang on to it. And guess what? You don't need to drink Starbucks coffee. You can drink Giuliani's coffie.
Yeah, much
I mean,
better.
you don't have to give your money to companies that are working against you.
Do we have none left?
I'm gonna go grab it.
I'd like some.
We got to give our friend some here, especially he gave us the free plug.
Yeah,
We
go.
didn't even pay him for it.
I can carry on. I'll push one of those buttons. Who knows what can happen? Somebody come out of a cake, or Trump may appear. One night I'm on the air, and he called me. He'll call me just to talk. So I said, "You want to get on the air?" He said, "Yeah." They put him on.
Yeah, it's right on there.
Oh wow! Oh, that's look at this, everybody. That is so cool.
This is my
Kevin,
morning blend.
Amazing.
This is my morning blend, but it's actually strong enough.
How cool is that?
That's my morning blend. I have three blends. I have a morning blend, I have a bold blend, and we have a decaffeinated.
Where can I set this?
They
Right
put it
here?
right there. Well, it's a decaffeinated, which is a healthy decaffeinated because we don't use any chemicals. We use water to decaffeinate it. Decaffeinated can be somewhat dangerous for you
Right.
if you're not
Oh,
careful.
thank you. Thank you.
Hot. We keep it hot around here.
Yeah, we make it hot. We're crazy. It's
Okay, that's delicious. I drink my coffee black too.
Arabica.
so
Oh,
Well, that means
wow.
I actually do appreciate the taste of good coffee.
but you drink it black because you drink good coffee.
Wow, he's like a
That's
natural
cool. Yeah,
salesman.
You know, you can't.
But
You,
you know,
We didn't set this up.
I
He's
also
doing
drink
this, folks.
because I see I don't have time to mix in creamer and sugar and all that. I got to grab my coffee and go.
well, the reality is, the better the coffee, the less likely it is that you're going to need cream or sugar. So this is Arabica beans. Those are the best
It's
beans.
delicious.
And
It
it's,
really is.
it's
Ice.
and when you have all Arabica, you don't need cream or sugar. It's just, you know.
And while we're talking about it, we also he has a iced version.
We made that especially for him.
Are you an iced coffee drinker, or maybe someone on the team? Any
particular,
members?
but yeah, a lot.
So you have many options, and that's of course rudycoffee.com. Rudy.coffee. Actually,
it?
cut out the
That's
com.
called Rudy Coffee.
Rudy.coffee. Well, that's where you go to get to learn more and to get your Rudy coffee today. And on that note,
We're going
unfortunately,
to get
we gotta
ourselves
cut
ready.
time short tonight.
So we have to tell people we're going to get ourselves ready to go over to Mar-a-Lago,
That's
which
right.
will soon be the summer or possibly the winter thing. But I am going to leave you with a very, very important message from our most important client, Tunnel to Towers. Thanks to the generosity of friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brett Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home right here in Florida. Brett decided to enlist in the U.S. Army because of September 11. So you know that means a great deal to me. And his desire was to protect the country. While on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brett's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device, an IED. In that instant, his life changed forever. The blast left Brett a T4 paraplegic with traumatic brain injury, compartment syndrome in both arms. He was unable to use his legs, and he had, of course, severe internal injuries. He even needed a total face reconstruction because his bones and teeth were shattered in the explosion. Despite his overwhelming challenges, Brett's spirit remained unbroken. Because of the support of friends like you, Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows catastrophically injured warriors like Brett to live as independently as they possibly can. And you don't know what that means for them and their family. Well, you do know, those of you who have been paying attention to this. America's heroes need your help now, more than ever. $11 a month to T2T.org. T2T.org. That's it. $11 a month, and you'll be part of something that's going to be better for you than even for them. It's going to make you feel like you're paying your debt to the people, given all the phony heroes and the people who are the real heroes, and keep us safe. So pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of, remember, Iran. A lot of good people in Iran that want to get rid of the Ayatollah. Of course, pray for us that we have wisdom. We're going to need right now, God, we're going to need wisdom from you. You're the one who gives us wisdom and courage. And God bless America. Fight, fight, fight. We'll see you tomorrow night. Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,